All right, you guys. Sorry I'm so late with putting up this video, but here we go. This is how you go about um, doing the correlation through Google Sheets. So here I have some just some data that I pulled from the internet, and it basically shows how to the temperature and the corresponding ice cream sales for whatever a particular time. This right here in the blue is the formula that we use for correlation straight from the notes, straight from the lesson when we did correlation. So as you can see, you're going to need X bar, which represents the mean of your X's. You need Y bar, which represents the mean of your Y's. You'll need to subtract all your X's from your mean as well as all your Y's from your mean. You're also going to need to take those differences and square them and then sum them up. So this is pretty much kind of just like a standard template, and you can use the exact same thing as well. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find the mean of my x's. So down here, anytime you're trying to do a set type of equation that does all the work for you, you always want to click the equal sign. And as you see, some things will pop up. We are going to be doing the average because mean means average. And for me, it already populated because I decided to do the mean underneath all of my x's. So of course it automatically populates here. I just want to double check. I'm going from cell A2 to A13 to find my average. And when I click enter, it provides the average for me. So again, since I have to do it for my y's, remember you click equals. Here it doesn't pop up, but if I start typing the word, different things start to pop up. I am looking for the average, and I can even select and drag, and it'll basically show, okay, we're going to do the average of all the entries from B2 to B13, close off the parentheses, and I click enter. And that's my mean for my Y's. Now I need to subtract each of my X values from my mean itself. So up here in my title, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to do X minus X bar, because it doesn't let you do symbols in Google Sheets. In regular Word, Excel, you can actually do symbols and things like that, but not here. So we're just going to say what it is. Okay. And so because I want to take each of my X values and subtract them from my mean, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the equals. I'm going to take the X value that I want, and I want to subtract it from my mean. Since I've already calculated the mean, I don't want to physically type this out. That's just going to take forever. But if I set up this equation, it's going to automatically do it for me. And then this is actually really nice. It says suggest autofill. And so what you can do is you can press the command button plus an enter. For me, I'm using my Mac, so of course this is it. But it might not work if you're using like a PC or a Chromebook. And if you click the check mark, it will let you autofill. And so basically this is the incorrect autofill. So actually I'm going to undo that. Because I'm subtracting the mean, this one entry, this one cell from each of the X values, what we want to do is we actually want to put a dollar sign and a dollar sign in between the before the A and before the 16. So then that way, when I take my cursor and drag the corner down, if I click on each of the cells, you see that it's taking each of the X values and subtracting it from that one entry. So putting the dollar signs allows the program essentially to continue to subtract just that one cell from all these individual cells, okay? So again, this one is taking 18.1, subtracting from 18.675, and that's how we get our X minus X bar. Now I need to do the same thing for my Y minus Y bar. So then that means I'm going to take each of my Y entries and subtract them from my mean. So I'm going to click this cell, but remember, because I want to make sure that it subtracts just that single cell, I want to put the dollar sign there. Okay. This is suggested the autofill, and I selected it this time. But as you can see, no matter where I click, it's taking that cell B7, so 522, and subtracting from the mean. Okay. And so that basically represents these two sets of parentheses of what I needed. Now for the numerator, I need to actually multiply the two together. So I'm going to write out exactly what's happening in this particular column. But what I'm going to do is I want the actual program to do the work for me. I want them to take this value and multiply it by this value. So the star, and I get that by doing Shift 8, represents multiplication. And what it does is it multiplies it for me. Now, if you have this feature, go ahead and use it. As long as you typed in everything correctly, it should go for itself. But if you don't want to, okay, if you don't want to, you can always click on that cell and then in that little blue box and drag it down, and it essentially will multiply all of the cells that kind of model the very first one. So here it multiplies C7 by D7, and then that's how we get that. So you can either autofill or you can drag the corner down yourself after you typed in your formula. Now what you want to do is for our numerator, we want to find the sum. So this is the sum, not the average, but the sum. So we type equals and we type in sum. Not sum product, but literally the sum from E2 to E13, because I'm trying to find the sum of my x minus x bar times my y minus y bars. So I want the sum of all those values, and that right there is going to represent the numerator. That's going to represent my numerator. Now I need to find my denominator. My denominator is found by squaring my x minus x bars and adding them up. So this title is going to be x minus x bar squared. Now, IB does not like this notation of like the caret, but again, that's the only way we can really get to indicate it's being squared. Or you could actually, let's do this instead, because we're multiplying it by itself. That's what happens when you square something, right? You multiply it by itself. So the formula that we're going to use, because I want to take this and I want to square it, I can actually do the notation for squared with the caret. Again, I get that from Shift 6. That's how I get the caret. And then 2. And what it will do is it will square it for me. Okay. I am going to autofill it, make it easier. But again, I can always click on the cell, take the blue square, and drag it down. I get the same result. Then I want the same thing for my y minus y bar squared. So I'm just going to type it twice, because that's essentially what you do when you're squaring. Again, I put the equals, because without the equals, none of the formulas will work. I want to take my y minus y bar value and I want to square it. And instead of autofilling this time, I'm going to take the corner, drag it, and boom, that's all my y minus y bar squared. I need the sum. How do I find the sum? Remember, you click equals first, then type in SUM, and then you drag all the cells you want to sum. Close out the parentheses, that's the sum. And you can always check this yourself, doing the same thing with y minus y bar squared. You can like check this if you think it might be wrong. You can take the values and you can actually figure them out yourself. But again, using the spreadsheet, using sheets, using Excel makes things a lot easier, especially when you have to do things by hand. Of course, you can always type it into your calculator and everything like that, but this is how you would do it by hand. Okay. So now I have all my pieces. Okay. I have my numerator, which is this value here. I have the first part of my denominator, which is the sum of x minus x bar squared. And then I have the second part of my denominator. So how do I find my r? Let's put it here. R equals. Okay. What I'm going to do is I want to take this answer, which is my numerator, and I want to divide it by the square root. Square root is done the same way that we would technically type it in. So SQRT, that's how you do square root of this value times this value. And so if I click enter, it's going to do it for me. And that's my correlation coefficient. And as we can see, that's a strong positive correlation between temperature and ice cream sales, which can basically imply the hotter it is, the more ice cream you're going to sell. Okay. And because I know Sheets and Excel very well, I'm going to double check to make sure I did this correctly. There's actually a feature too in Excel as well as Sheets that allows you to do correlation. If you start typing in correlation, it pops up Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. Okay, this is essentially what your calculator does. When we go into L1 and L2 and type in the values, this is pretty much the same thing. So if you already found your correlation coefficient using your calculator, which is good, you have the value to check. Here is how you do it by hand as well. You want to create this table, basically what this entire video is about, and that's what I'm expecting to see, this table, all of this raw value. But I'm going to check to see if I did it correctly. I'm going to take basically my list, my L1 and L2, and, actually, sorry, I did that wrong. I'm going to go from here to here. Oh, start over. Sorry. I want to get all of my L1s, comma, all of my L2s, or essentially all of my X's, all of my Y's. So I have to separate them with a comma. And then when I click enter, that was my check. So I'm good to go. And that's how you find correlation coefficient by hand. This is the by hand method because you're showing all the steps. You're using the formula. We're just using technology to help us. Let me know if you have any questions.